or suppress disfavored expression. That, however, is exactly what's happening here. For this reason, and for those explained more fully below, the executive order is unconstitutional, and the findings and instructions to executive branch agencies issued in sections 1 through 5 cannot be allowed to stand. Accordingly, plaintiffs, Perkins Coie, motion for summary judgment and declaratory and permanent injunctive relief is granted. Okay, friends, now, admittedly, I just covered a good bit of Judge Howell's opening salvo because I wanted you to feel the tone, the power, the passion of Judge Howell's ruling. But now let's turn to a few quick takeaways. First of all, this will be appealed. But it's really hard to envision appeals courts disagreeing with and reversing Judge Howell's impeccably reasoned 112-page legal opinion. They could disagree with it, they could reverse it, they could bust it on appeal, but I don't think they will. Takeaway number 2. This case is over. In so many cases involving Trump's unlawful and unconstitutional conduct, we have been dealing with preliminary issues, things like temporary restraining orders and preliminary injunctions, and not even getting to the meat of the litigation, the actual issue to be resolved in a trial. But this time, this case is over. Why? Because Judge Howell granted summary judgment for Perkins Coie, meaning they win. And we don't even need a drawn-out, extended trial because they win as a matter of fact and law, and nothing the Trump administration said or argued or presented even warrants further litigation. The case is over. Summary judgment granted, and the Trump administration is permanently enjoined. That means you may never revive this executive order punishing Perkins Coie. And I have a feeling this is just one of what will be a series of rulings involving other executive orders that are out there, by which Donald Trump is trying to unconstitutionally punish law firms and lawyers. But this case, at the moment, is over. But as we say, it will be appealed. Here's the third takeaway, and probably the most important. To those law firms who have bent the knee to Donald Trump or are considering bending the knee to Donald Trump, don't do it. And if you have done it, undo it. Stand strong. Oppose tyranny, because you will have the rule of law, you will have the Constitution, and you will have this 102-page ruling propping you up, giving you strength. Stand strong. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.
The week began with President Trump marking 100 days in office and closed with his calling for an end to federal funds for public media. To discuss those events and more from the week, we're joined once again by our friends Brooks and Capehart. That is New York Times columnist David Brooks and Jonathan Capehart, associate editor for The Washington Post. And man, is it good to see you both at the end of this week. Let's jump right in. Guys, in the first 100 days, we've now seen the first major shakeup in the administration with the ouster of Mike Waltz. He's been moved from National Security Advisor to the United Nations. But before that, we had a PBS News NPR Marist poll that took the temperature of Americans. They had to say this. On President Trump's job performance overall, they gave him a 42% approval, 53% disapproval. On his two biggest issues, on immigration, he's underwater, 44% approving, 52% disapproving. And on the economy, 39% approving, 55% disapproving. More importantly, when people were asked to give him a report card, then give him a grade, more than half of respondents responded with an F. Jonathan, this is a president who moved fast, got a lot done. What do you make of how Americans are taking it all in?
Well, that last chart you showed shows that the American people, I mean, F, that's serious. People are not happy. The PBS poll shows it, and the raft of other polls that came out last week also show it. The American people are not happy with the president. They're not happy with what he's doing, how he's doing it. The one thing, caution, though, is that from Trump's first time as president, I learned he couldn't care less about the overall numbers. He cares about the Republicans. Where do Republicans stand when it comes to him? And I'll admit, I did not look for that crosstab in the PBS Marist poll, but I did in the other polls last week, and his support among Republicans remains strong. And so if you take that, he looks for their support, plus a president in his second term who feels like he has the power and is exercising the power to do whatever he wants. Who cares the reaction of the American people? I think he's not going to pay attention to these horrible poll numbers. I think he's just going to keep plowing ahead.
I just want to clarify, too, it's 45% gave him an F, just in the way of getting the numbers
That's still
right
a
there.
lot.
The numbers, it is a